Cool. Hi guys. I can start to see there's a few of you coming into the room, so welcome. We can wait a little around a little bit, or we can kind of just get started.
That sounds good. Yeah, I see a lot of people logging on now, so it's wonderful to see. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad that you made time to come to this presentation. We hope that we're actually going to save you at least as much time as you spend with us. So.
Exactly. Awesome. So welcome, Pamela. I just wanted to welcome everyone here. There could be a few Digital Summit people that I have met over the last couple of months, so welcome if you're here. Um, this is our little webinar. It's called 6 Time-Saving Tips for Scrappy Digital Marketers. As you know, or I've spoken to Digital Summit people, but you might not know, my name is Hannah. I am a social media manager at PicMonkey, and we also have Pamela here, who is the founder of Big Brand Systems. And today we are just going to be giving you lots of tips and tricks to save you time, but also make you look like you know what you're doing. I wear many hats, as well as being a social media manager. I also have to be a designer. I also have to be a copywriter. And in doing so, I have to kind of do everything very quickly, but also kind of look like I know what I'm doing. And today, Pamela is going to basically help us do that. I think you'll find it really, really interesting. The stuff that we've got here is stuff that you can use straight away. You don't have to be a designer. It's going to be super helpful. At the end of the tips, I'm also going to be running through like a PicMonkey demo, so you can kind of run through and see how to create something in PicMonkey with the tips that Pamela has gone through. And also you'll be able to ask us questions. You can ask us questions throughout. We've got Fabiola here, my colleague, and she is going to be kind of gathering all the questions, and we will be doing that at the end. So to start, let's introduce you, Pamela, and talk about you and your background and all Big Brand Systems. Tell us all about it.
Thank you so much, Hannah. I really appreciate this opportunity. I call myself an online educator. I really enjoyed teaching. I have written 3 books. You may know me from my master content series of books. There are 2 books that kind of complement each other, and they're all about content marketing. Today's presentation is all about visual marketing, but visuals are content as well. So I love this topic. I'm a keynote speaker also. I'm a business coach, and all of this cool stuff happens at my website, which is bigbrandsystem.com. My career started as a designer, and I have been helping people to market their businesses for more than 30 years. So I've been doing this for a long time. And I did create this page, and I wanted to let you know about it, because what we'll be talking about today is topics that help you to use design, even if you don't have a background in design, or even if you're one of those people who says, I'm not an artist, I can't draw a straight line and all of that. You are the exact type of person I love to teach, actually, because I believe passionately that anyone can learn basic design concepts and apply them. So I created this page. It's right here below the laptop. It's bigbrand.info/PicMonkey, and that page has some resources that will complement what we're going to talk about today. We won't go super in depth about some of these topics, so if you're left with a question and you want some more information, that page is a great place to find that.
I personally have watched the video and I found it really helpful, and there's definitely things in there that I didn't necessarily think of that has helped. So I highly recommend that you all jump on there and have a look.
Oh, the workshop at the top of the page.
Yes,
Yeah, I do.
yes,
I have a visual marketing workshop. It's free. That's a lot of fun, and it's got a lot of detail about this topic. So yeah, thank you. Thanks for that. All right, I want to go ahead and dive in and
do it.
get started with these tips. And we're going to kind of move from philosophical tips to more tactical and pragmatic tips. So we're starting with the more philosophical ones. And the overarching concept of this whole presentation is simplicity. I believe if you can simplify your branding, you are going to find that everything that you create that uses your brand elements will just come together so much faster. And when your brand is relatively simple, people will also remember it because you're not asking them to memorize so many different branding elements. So that starts with this concept of design restraint. And design restraint really just means putting together a very short list of branding elements that you use consistently over time so that your branding is fast and easy to put together and people also recognize it. So let's see what that looks like out in the wild. So out in the wild, here we have 3 logos from companies that most of us have seen: Amazon, Dropbox, and FedEx. These are very simple logos and very simple brands, really, when you think about it. The Amazon logo, for example, has, I mean, it's really just one color and black. The Dropbox logo has one color and black also. The FedEx logo just has 2 colors. So they're very, very simple. And yet we can recognize these brands at a distance because of that simplicity. And that's what I want to ask you to try to do with your own brand, is to simplify it so it's very easy to use, very easy to apply in everything that you do. So what does that look like? Well, it starts with color. And what I want to ask you to do, if you have not chosen your brand colors yet, is to focus on just having 2 main colors to represent your brand and an accent color. So I'm going to show you what I mean by accent color, but this is an example of 2 main brand colors. So we have a gold color and kind of a purple. Those would be the colors that we would use in all of our visual marketing, and I am going to show you examples of this if you're having a hard time visualizing it. And then we have this accent color, and the accent color is used anytime you have a call to action. So what's a call to action? A call to action is something like a button, or it's a line that you want people to be sure to read. It's information that you don't want them to miss. It's a phone number you want them to call. It's an action you want them to take. And what you're going to do with this accent color is only use it where you have a call to action. And that will help people to always recognize that call to action. It'll stand out because it'll be different from everything else. So we have our 2 main colors and we have our accent color. But like, how do you choose those colors? If you don't have those colors, how do you choose them? So I have a question that you can ask yourself. If you haven't chosen brand colors at all, the question you can start with is, what is the feeling that I want to convey with my brand? What kind of energy do I want to convey? So do I want it, for example, 2 sides of the spectrum? Do I want it to be kind of serene and soothing and feel very, you know, friendly and kind of cuddly? Or do I want it to be high energy, high impact, get lots of attention and have that kind of a feeling? And once you have an answer to that question, then you can approach one of my favorite tools, which is the color wheel. A color wheel tells us a lot about the relationships between colors. So if you answered that question with, yes, I want a brand that's soothing and I want it to feel very serene, you want to look for colors that sit close by each other in a color wheel. So imagine that these are like pie slices, and the colors that you would choose would fit within the same slice of pie. They sit next to each other. I call them neighboring colors. And those colors tend to be kind of serene looking. They look related, almost like they're siblings or cousins or something. Does
I
that
love
make
that
sense,
tip.
Hannah?
Yeah. I often use a color wheel. I also like to use a website that our designers have kind of recommended to us, which is called colorhunt.co. And that has just like a range of color palettes that have basically been put together for you, and you kind of know like what colors go with what. You don't really have to search through everything, and it can give you kind of some inspiration there. But that's
I
awesome.
love that. Yeah, it's great to have inspiration that you can, you know, take as, especially if it's been chosen by designers.
Yeah.
If you do want to do this from scratch, there's a site actually called colorlovers.com, and they have this, it's called Copasso. It's a color wheel tool, and you can actually find things on a wheel using that tool. It's a lot of fun as well. So if you really want to, you know, get granular and play with a color wheel, that's a good place to do it. So if you answer that question, I want high energy colors, then when you look at the color wheel, you want to choose colors that are across from each other, opposite colors, because opposite colors tend to clash a little bit, but clash in a way that's kind of interesting and high energy. So that's how you can choose those two main colors if you don't have them yet. Many of us already have our colors chosen. And then we can move on to things like fonts, right? That's kind of the next aspect of branding that we can talk about. This is, again, something else that you want to probably have a very short list of brand elements to work with. You don't want to be changing your fonts with every graphic that you create, because you're making it difficult for people to recognize your brand when they see it out in the wild. And again, we're moving from philosophical to kind of tactical here. So if all this seems very abstract, we're about to get very granular, so stay with me. So here we are in the fonts menu on PicMonkey, and one of the things I want to encourage you to look for if you have not chosen a font is to look for a font family that has a lot of weights. So this is a font called Chivo. You can see there's even more. If you dig into this font menu, there are even more weights, but in this one menu, we have regular, bold, italic, and bold italic. So that's lots of weights to choose from. What's amazing about using a font like that is that you can, just by changing the weights, you can give your design a new kind of a feel. And because all of those weights are within one font family and they've been designed to use together, they're going to look great together no matter what. It's like pre-matched, right? So this is how we do it. We repeat the same colors and the same fonts in every graphic that we create, and then they start looking visually related. So I bet you're ready for some examples, right? So that's what I have in this next section. So this is a problem that a lot of us have. Let's say we have to develop a series of graphics and we need them to look like they all come from our business. We want them to look visually related, like they all come from the same company, the same business, but we don't want the graphics to be so identical that people almost become blind to the style, right? So from one graphic to another, there needs to be enough difference that people's attention kind of resets when they see the new graphic. It's like, oh, there's something new, but I can tell it comes from this business because it's using those same branding elements they always use, right? So that is the beauty. When you get this right, that's what happens. So let's see what this could look like, and I'm going to set up a rhetorical situation. So let's say you have a yoga studio and you're going to be running these yoga events and you want to create these graphics and you want to use them on social media platforms. You want to put them in your email marketing. You want to use them on your website. You really want to use them all over the place, but you need them to look related to your business, but different enough that they're still kind of interesting. So let's see what that could look like. So here we have those same branding elements I showed you earlier in the presentation. We have the two colors, so we have the gold and the purple. Then we have our accent color, and our accent color is highlighting the call to action, which is a phone number. So we're asking people to call this phone number to RSVP for our rooftop yoga event, right? So, and then we've used the same font. So this is our Chivo font. It's used in different weights. And you can see it's kind of interesting. It's very simple, but it's kind of interesting. So then we take those exact same elements and we have to create another graphic for another event that's coming up. And again, the problem is we need them to look visually related. We want it to look like it comes from our business, but we want the graphic to be different enough that people say, oh, that's something new, right? It gets their attention. So this is what that could look like. And again, here we have the exact same elements, the same two colors, the same two main colors. We have our accent color to highlight our phone number. The name of the event is done in our Chivo font, and the rest is all the Chivo font. So it's all the same. It's even the exact same size graphic, but it looks visually related. You can tell it comes from our same City Yoga business because it's all the same branding elements. And it's very simple, isn't it? It's one font and three colors, and you're just combining them in different ways so that you get that nice attention reset every time somebody sees a new graphic. Does that, how does that sound, Hannah? Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
it makes sense. And I really like the fact that your call to action isn't like so obvious. The call to action's like to call, like that you're highlighting kind of the phone number, but I really like how it's kind of subtly there, but it draws, that's the kind of where your eye goes to. It's a cool way of doing it.
Yeah, you know what? The call to action color is usually you want to choose something that's different from the other colors and you
Makes
want to
sense.
use it really sparingly. It's like hot sauce.
Yeah.
It's like hot sauce in food. You don't smother your food with hot sauce. You just use a little bit and it adds interest and it sparks attention. And
Yeah.
that's what your accent color should do.
And this is all like done in PicMonkey. So guys, remember we're going to be doing something at the end where we can kind of like walk you through something similar to this, where we're creating something that's super easy and sticking with font colors and font types and brand colors. So stay tuned for
Yes.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all PicMonkey. And these next tips actually are things that you can specifically do in PicMonkey that will help you to save time. So this whole presentation was how to, create these scrappy digital graphics that look great. But I also promise to help you do them quickly. So part of
Yeah.
doing them quickly is just having a short list of fonts and a short list of colors so that you're not getting like decision fatigue every time you go to create a graphic. You just have this short list of elements that you're using over and over. So that's part of the time saving. But the other part of the time saving is just a way of working. And what I want to encourage you to do is to create your own templates. Create templates that you can modify of your own graphics, and it's very easy to do in PicMonkey. So here's an example of these two graphics that I created for this presentation. I have a shared space called PicMonkey Webinars. I created a folder called July 2019. I put these graphics inside. This is all inside my hub. So it's great because there's a visual representation of these projects. And what I do is open one up and this is a very important step because you don't want to modify your original template. Before you do any work, you hit edit a copy and then a copy of that graphic will open up and your original is preserved and you have a copy that you can work on and modify. And what's beautiful about this is that all those branding elements that you have worked so hard to put together, your two main colors, your accent color, your fonts, they're all there. And all you have to do is shift things around. Maybe you import a new image and you change things up and you'll have a graphic that looks very related to the first one. So it's a huge time saver if you can set up your working routine so that it looks kind of like that.
This is exactly what we do for our social media team. That edit a copy button is a lifesaver.
It is a lifesaver. You have to make sure you hit it.
Yeah.
I've made that mistake before. You start
Yeah.
editing your template and then
Don't
you're like, oh,
edit
shoot.
the hero one. Yeah, no. Edit a
Yeah.
copy. Edit
You have to hit the edit a copy. Yeah. We need to put like a neon light around
a
it, right? So um, all right, so here's tip 5, and tip 5 is really about just being a little bit strategic about the content that you create. And this is something I talk about a lot in that master content series of books. It's about sitting down and really thinking ahead of time before you actually get in there and start creating visual content, right? And what happens when you think ahead about your content and kind of plan it out is that you can batch create. And batch creating is amazing. So what I mean by this is you sit down with a calendar and you kind of map out the content that you need, the visual content you need to create, and you literally just come up with a list. I need to create this. I'm going to use it here, and that way you know what size graphic you need to create, and you get this short list of content. And then you open up your PicMonkey account and you drink some coffee. This is a really important point. Coffee or tea, a little caffeine on the day that you batch create your graphics is a beautiful thing. And you can create them one after another. And what I love about this is that we are all here because we know PicMonkey is easy. That's why we love it. But every piece of software has a little bit of a learning curve, right? And
Totally.
if you're not using it all day, every day, there's always a little bit of a learning curve to scale. So what's great about batch creating your graphics is you get into a role. It's like
Totally.
get into this rhythm. And once you've created one, it's very easy to create the second, third, fourth, and fifth, right?
Yeah.
So that's why batch creating can save you so much time. And yes, you have to be a little bit strategic. You have to think about what you need. You have to think ahead. It's probably, if you're someone who likes to fly by the seat of your pants, you're going to resist this one. But it is a fantastic way to save time. And I'm a huge believer in saving time because honestly, if this takes too long, you won't do it. You won't use visual marketing. You won't be able to benefit from all the things that visual marketing can do for your business. So make it fast. That's what I say.
Great tip.
Okay, and then the final thing is something that is a new, near and dear to my heart already tool in PicMonkey, which is this collaboration tool, which is just fantastic. So here we have this graphic open, and I want to share it with someone. Maybe I want to send it to them because I want them to edit and do the next copy of this graphic. So I click on share, and then I get this dialog box that allows me to invite someone to that graphic. I just plug their email address in, and then I can even choose the role that they will have. So are they able to only look at the image? Can they edit the image? You can get very granular with the kind of role that they can have with your graphic. Now, is this only available on Teams, Hannah? I wasn't sure.
No, everyone can access it for everyone to use. It's definitely not for Teams. It's not exclusive.
That is okay.
Ready to go. You can use it.
Amazing. Okay. It's really awesome. It's such a great idea. And I love the fact that the other person doesn't have to have a PicMonkey account, correct?
Exactly. I know.
Yeah.
I can't believe how I lived without it. We use this all the time. Like for me personally, I'm always creating something and I know that it just needs a little bit extra, so I'll send it over to my design team and can you please check in and make this good. I need to send
just
it
get
out
another set of eyes on things.
Another set of eyes on things, and it truly has been the best way for our workflow. It's made life so much easier. So come to the end. Thank you so much, Pamela. I know we've got some questions coming in, but first, as I promised, I'm going to run through just a little video that will touch on a few things that that Pamela went through, and I'm just going to switch over so you can see my screen and we can get into it.
And I'm seeing some of these questions come in. I'm excited to answer questions. So if you are here and you have a question, drop it in.
Oops, that's not what we want. This is what we want. Okay. Perfect, guys. Okay, so let's start here. We have what's called like a mood board. So here we've got kind of the text that we're going to use. We also have the two fonts. So this has been created with PicMonkey using Curved Text tool, but we've also got the two fonts that we're choosing, which is Futura Medium, and then we've got the other font, which is Bedini XT. And those are the two fonts that we've chosen for this brand. And that's going to make life so much easier. Then here we've got two images, which are just kind of going to act like our inspirational images. They're soft pastel kind of colors, very neutral, and that's going to be the vibe of our brand. And then underneath here, we've got a range of colors that we've chosen to go with. We're only going to be using two of these for the images that I'm going to show you next, but along with that, they've got the hex code, which makes life easier too when you want to kind of punch in those colors and you can kind of get them out of the way really quickly. Okay, so here is a Facebook ad, and this is what we're going to create. The dimensions are already there, ready to go. And PicMonkey makes it really easy for you to do that if you want to switch out sizes, but you don't even have to think about it. It's a Facebook ad, here are the dimensions. So we've got a photo here that we're going to create for kind of like camera guides. And we've also got our logo as well, which is just in the center that we've already made. So what we're going to do is start designing it. We're going to add a basic shape. And actually, sorry, first we're going to bring in the mood board. Now this is key. This is going to help your life so much more. It's going to allow you to kind of switch out the colors really quickly and remind you of the fonts that you're going to use. So now we're going to add the shape. So that's going to be put there, and we're going to change the color. And to do that, you can either type in the hex code, which we can grab from our mood board, or you can use the drop tool and you can just place it over there, and there you go. That's the color that you're going to use. We're going to bring down the opacity a little bit just to make it slightly transparent. I think that's going to kind of bring everything together. And now we're going to add some text. We know which text we're going to use because we've already got it organized, and we're going to start with Bedini XT, and that's going to be our big kind of leading font, changing up the size, and we're also going to add the other font, which is Futura Medium, and that's just going to go under there. So the Bedini is like the big kind of leading font. We're also going to change the color as well, which is to that kind of darker charcoal color. And using Futura Medium, we'll type in some more text and change the size, as well as adding some letter spacing just to make it look nice and pretty and bring it all together. After we center a few things and add some finishing touches, that is our Facebook ad done. You can kind of move it out your mood board so you can get ready to export. I'm going to move that logo up so you can see it properly. So now is the key to batch editing. So we're going to edit a copy, which is that key button there that you can see that Pamela was talking about. And this allows you to not kind of edit the hero that you've kind of worked from, but this will allow you to kind of pump out your assets really quickly. So once we edit a copy, we will give it a different name so we don't lose it, which can often happen. So we're going to type in, what are we going to type in here? Modern tech, I think. So this is the next Facebook ad that we're going to pump out. So you can see that it's exactly the same because we've added a copy. And what we're going to do now is replace that camera image with our next image, which is a pair of earphones. And then we're simply going to move this asset to the other side, center the logo, and then change the text, which is already there. You don't have to worry about what font to choose. And then you're done. I'm just going to stretch out the image slightly just so you can see it a bit better. But that's it, guys. Like, that's how easy batch editing can be. If you just like dedicate a few hours of just doing your whole calendar for the whole month and creating assets, doing it like this will just make your life so much easier. Okay.
I love that. That and coffee or tea.
Exactly.
That's all you need.
Exactly. So Pamela, I'm just going to give you your screen back so we can
Okay.
see. Perfect. Okay, so we've got some questions here. Lisa asked, can we see an example of how to use batch editing, where to store them? So I kind of went through that, Lisa.
Yes.
But a great way for any of you that have like any questions about PicMonkey is to also head to our resource page. That is just like the best way to kind of figure out where to start with PicMonkey. It has so many videos that you can go through if you do want to learn more and how to just get started with PicMonkey. Once you play around and you're in like the actual program, it's very intuitive. You get to know how to create things and it makes life super simple. But I definitely recommend going to the resource page. Lisa's also asked, is the resolution file format in ads created in PicMonkey good enough to print reproduction or only for online use? So you can definitely print it. Everything is super print friendly. We have so many PicMonkey users that have their own Etsy store, for example. Like, people take some of the graphics that we offer, or they create their own and they use that to print out prints that they then sell on Etsy. So it's definitely something that you can use and you don't have to worry about the quality. It doesn't change. Laurie asks, is there any tips on adding branding logo? I'm not
I
too
would
sure,
love to answer this
but
one,
please, Pamela,
actually.
take it away.
So the tip that I would give, I mean, there are lots of technical tips
Yes,
for adding a logo. The tip that I would give it's a mistake that I see a lot of people because I teach this topic and I see a lot of people make this mistake. And it is that by the time they've reduced their logo, you cannot read the company name. It's
yes,
very small.
yeah,
So if you have a logo where that happens, where you reduce the size and suddenly no one, unless they have a magnifying glass in their hands, can actually read what's on the logo, it's not a good idea to use that logo. I mean, if it's a small symbol or something and you have
sure.
managed to, you people now know that symbol. If you own the Nike swoosh, for example, you can use that very small, but most logos aren't like that. They
Yeah,
have text, and by the time you reduce them, you can't read it. So if that is your situation, what I recommend is simply writing out the name of your business using one of your brand fonts at the
mm-hmm.
bottom of your image, and you can watermark it, you can make it very subtle, but readability is actually more important than using your actual logo. That maybe, I understand people get attached to their logos and they've used them for a long time, but when it comes to these kinds of images, readability is actually key. So I recommend just going for readable. Hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, I agree. That totally makes sense. Okay, so we have another question. What batch editing software do you use to plan ads? So, would you like to take? Did you have
I
something?
no, honestly, I keep things very simple. For me, it's
Yeah,
all about simplicity. So I use a Google spreadsheet when I'm planning graphics,
yeah,
but you don't even need that. What I like about the spreadsheet is that I can add the link where I used the graphics, so I can go directly to the place where I used it. If it's online, so that can be helpful, and you can add columns with notes and things like that, or maybe the date that you created it and the date that you used it, whatever is meaningful for you.
yeah,
But I keep it very simple. You could even do it in a notebook or, with
totally.
pencil and paper. Yeah.
We have just started using, obviously we do all the batch editing in PicMonkey, but then like to plan it and to see how it looked to say on our Instagram feed, we have used Later, and that is for visually kind of representing what the whole month will look like. That's a really good platform to use, and we've started using that and we really like it.
Is that specific to Instagram?
It is, you can, it does offer like Pinterest and other platforms, but primarily if you're visually wanting to look at and plan your feed, we use Later for Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool.
Okay, so we have one more
Monica's with me on the coffee. Yay, Monica.
here. Nice, thanks, Monica. Is there a good place to look for inspiration for developing your own templates for various assets like ads or other marketing assets? What would you say? Where is a good place that you look to inspiration, Pamela?
I mean, that is kind of what that visual marketing workshop is about on that page,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
that's kind of what I talk about. So if you want to go a little deeper with that topic, I'd recommend that you visit the page and there's an invitation right at the top where you can sign up. It's free. And it's one of those things you don't have to like sign up for a time to watch it. You just sign up and then you land on the page that has the workshop. So you could be watching it in just a few minutes.
I
Um,
know that you and I are both Pinterest lovers. I think that's a really good place to find inspiration as well. That's where I go.
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
For design inspiration, definitely.
yeah.
And I mean, you can look at the templates that are in PicMonkey and just get inspired as
100%.
well.
Yeah, I know. So a lot of the times I get really scared of just working with a blank canvas. So I will often go to the templates and just even look at the structure and how like where images go, where the text would go, what size with the text. And by the end of it, it doesn't necessarily look like the template I used to begin with, but
Right,
it's just a good place to start.
right.
Okay. Monica has a technical question for PicMonkey, which is there is an option that pops up when you are working with images that allows to flatten. What does that mean? So basically, when you flatten an image, when you're creating a blank canvas and you're creating a project, you will often have a few layers that come up on your layers panel. And basically, when you flatten everything, you're making that whole project one layer.
It becomes like one image. It's,
Exactly. It
I
becomes
mean,
like
the
one.
crucial thing to understand about flattening is that once you do that, you can no longer edit it unless
Yeah,
you're, you'd have to like manually erase things, and it's
yeah.
kind of, I mean, I don't know about you, but I usually don't flatten anything
Really,
because,
I flatten things. You know what?
oh
This is
gosh,
a
I never
conversation
flatten.
I've had. I know I've
Because
had
when
this
you
conversation
save
with
the
you. You're a
image,
flatten
when you
person.
export the image, it's automatically flattened.
It
So
is, but like sometimes I will have something designed that's perfectly done and has just got, there's too many layers and it just kind of gets a little crazy. And so when I know that I am 150% done with something, I'll flatten it and I no longer have to worry about moving layers accidentally. So that's the
you
way
are just
I.
more perfect than I am, Hannah, because I'm never 100% satisfied. I'm like,
Really?
I
Yeah,
don't know,
that's
I
true.
might want to change it down the road, so I don't
Yeah,
flatten.
yeah,
I mean,
I do like
the
to flatten.
nice thing about your tool is that you can work either way. I mean, you
Yeah,
give people the option if they want to be able to flatten something, they can do that. If
yeah,
they're like me and they're pretty sure they're going to be tweaking it forever, then
yeah.
you don't have to flatten if you don't want to.
It's true. We do have an undo button, so sometimes I'll flatten something, but I can quickly undo it. It's not the end of the world.
Right,
But
right.
yeah, and a good question, Monica. Thank you. I think that might be it for the questions that I can see. Let me just have another little quick look.
Great questions, by the way.
Totally. And as well, guys, this webinar that we're doing right now will be recorded. So if there's something that you want to go back to, take some notes, or kind of have another look, you are more than welcome to do so. That will be sent to you via email. So look out for that. Awesome. So I think we're it, Pamela. Thank you so much for joining us. I really
Thank you.
love this webinar. All the information that you gave us was very, very informative, and I hope all of you guys took something away from that. And there'll be many more to come, so keep an eye out. We'll be reaching out to you guys for more webinars coming your way. All right.
Thanks for being here, everyone.
See you later, Pamela. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.